Alright, Lions, so today we are jumping back into the Ranged Hollow Guild quest. We did stream this early this week, but I do want to make a dedicated video going over the team that I personally used, and at the very least, a team that you can potentially strive for in the future to get a very similar score. Because for the most part, we are going to be using a Max Transcended GREMMY. Now, I know, not everyone's going to have this character, Max Transcended, but you know what? If you pulled on the 9th anniversary, if you plan to go deep on the 10th anniversary, chances are you might walk away with him Max Transcended because he will be on one of the biggest banners of the year, right? The 10th anniversary. July 23rd, by the way. So if you can't do this right now, you definitely will be able to do it in the future. And this team is definitely future-proofing itself for extra level 5 when that does get added into the future. Because a team like this has plenty of time to spare when it comes to beating extra level 4. So when they eventually do add extra level 5, you know Gremmy's going to be able to beat it. Even in this case, where keep in mind, it's worst case scenario. This is the worst performance from Gremmy. Because the bosses, the extra level bosses, and the 5th boss is a power character. So whenever the attributes change in the future, it's only going to get better for what is one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. Now, the team is fairly simple. Again, even though we are using a Max Transcended Gremmy, I've seen people get very similar, if not better scores using 3 out of 5. So by no means do you need a Max Transcended Gremmy for this run. And we'll probably remove some transcendence just to see how it does go. But again, we are using a Max Transcended Gremmy. I have gone ahead and leveled up his attack, focus, and SP slot to level 12 because he is one of the better characters in the game. Bonus abilities consist of damage to paralyzed enemies and also full stamina damage. And like always, I did talk about it yesterday during our accessory to this video. When it comes to building your characters, right now this seems to be the best thing that we can do. Go with the speed ball, the strong attack damage item at 5-star plus, and then also a killer sticker. If you want to evolve the killer sticker, then go ahead. But again, I'm fine with just keeping it at 5-star. And then for links, we're going with these 3 soul traits. Now, I was told to use the Grim Gel soul trait because he does offer 25% more damage at full stamina. Any extra damage can help, but you can go with the simple stuff, right? You can go Stark, for example. You can go with Eisen. Like always, just go with your best soul traits that offer the most amount of spiritual pressure with a good second soul trait, right? So for me right now, all 3 of these links are in a way Max Transcended, and I am getting close to 2,000 spiritual pressure just from the soul traits alone. Lucky for us too, one of them is actually a free-to-play character that you can get from Senkamon, so that's actually pretty cool, right? So of course, with that in mind, Gremmy is going to be our main lead. Giselle, on the other hand, is here to boost Gremmy's damage. Giselle does have a technique damage buff, where once we inflict a status element, we do 30% more damage. Her transcendence doesn't matter because she doesn't have killer here. I mean, technically she does. She actually has sword killer, so she does a tad bit more damage to these enemies. And she is also getting the range damage times 2, but she isn't getting the 5 times hollow damage, for example. But still, because it is Giselle, I mean, she does do some respectable damage, especially if you have dupes into her. Again, not that big of a deal. I know it looks like I'm using quite the decked out team because both of them are Max Transcended here. But Giselle's transcendence doesn't matter that much. But if you have her in the team, you might as well build her to the best you can, just so she can do some extra damage, because it might actually help out during certain waves. So with that, I just gone with this build, right, just to keep it simple. I don't have extra speed balls at 5-star plus, for example, so I'm going with this. In terms of links, make sure you use the Mugetu soul trait, because that does stack with Gremmy's Quincy damage buff. So we get an extra 20% strong attack damage, and then give Giselle as much strong attack damage as possible. Probably don't give Giselle too much recharge, because you don't want her spamming her strong attacks all that much, but whenever she does use a strong attack, if she can hit an enemy, you know, she will be doing some decent damage. And then lastly, we have Shunsui. Now, Shunsui, I don't think is really replaceable. I mean, technically he is just with a team booster, but Shunsui does have the benefit here of being a normal attack damage character with a team boost. Like, in a way, you could use Rangiku here, and honestly, that wouldn't even be too bad, to be fair, because while if you are using Rangiku, right, you do want a team booster in your team. With Rangiku, I don't have it personally. You technically don't have a team booster, but in a way you do, because remember, you do have Gremmy's EX attack, which you do, I believe, use on wave 3. So once you use that, your Rangiku is then boosted, right? So in a way, yeah, if you don't have Shunsui, even if you do, and you have Rangiku, you might want to use Rangiku. It really comes down to you. I think both are viable here. Rangiku probably is the better one, though. At least in the later waves when you do decide to use your EX attack on Gremmy. With that, though, we're going to go with this build right here, all attack, and give this character as much full stamina damage, normal attack damage as possible, getting a good amount of stats from the soul traits, level 10 attack, full stamina, and damage to drained enemies. Now, you can go with damage to paralysis. It really comes down to you. Gremmy is going to inflict a status element, drain or paralysis, so either one works. So with that in mind, the best strat right now that we can do is this following strat. So you want to use your SA1 instantly, flash step twice, then SA3. You want to go up here, SA2, flash step back, then 1. Now, this is where most of the runs do kind of get scuffed, is on that second wave, because you do need to group everyone together with that beam vortex attack. Sometimes an enemy might not be in the vortex and it kind of slows you down a tad bit. So most of the time that you want to, gain him is on the second wave. But going into the fourth, you Soul Bomb, SA2. Vortex is still there going into the fifth wave. And then you just pretty much use your last 2 strong attacks. It was kind of fast-paced. We're going to definitely try that again. But that's basically how it's done. Now, lucky for us, to be fair, Giselle actually got frozen. Unironically, it's kind of funny, right? If you watched our past Guild Quest videos, when we ever do use a Quincy character, that character is always paired with GREMMY, because GREMMY is the supporter for Quincy's. And it's kind of funny that in some cases, now the opposite is being seen, where, when we were using Bambietta, your run can be ruined if GREMMY inflicts a status summon, because it robs the status summon and SP boost from other characters. In this case, because Giselle is a super killer, unironically, she could inflict a status summon, and that could somewhat ruin the run. But GREMMY is GREMMY. You see there we had 20 seconds to spare. But if you are using a 1-5 GREMMY and you do have Giselle, there is a certain case where Giselle might rob all the status procs from you. So make sure you have a strong attack ready or something to attack the boss when the SP boost is about to wear off or when the paralysis and drain is about to wear off. Lucky for GREMMY though, he does have Frenzy free with the increased status summon chance and a tracking vortex, so more often than not Giselle isn't going to take a status summon, but sometimes it can happen. So for the very first run, at 5 out of 5, that was a 50-second run. We're going to try it again because we definitely can get a better score, because right now my personal best is 53 seconds. And from what I've seen, that's the best score GREMMY can get. I haven't seen anything higher, but I've heard you can get a tad bit higher. But again, personally, I've not seen it. Now, if your Giselle or GREMMY is actually maxed out, there are some cases where you can start off the run and use your SA3 in one shot without the need of using the SA1 straight away. So this is an example where the SA2 didn't group everyone together, and it kind of slows you down a tad bit. Sometimes when you use the EX, it doesn't always kill the enemy straight away, so you have to use an SA1. In the perfect run, you do want to kill with the SA3 straight away, or the EX attack, and that is how we can get 53 if everything just goes perfectly. So that was 40 plus seconds. We'll go ahead and try that again. So I don't know. All right, so let's try that again. So we're going to flash step forward, SA3. We actually one-shot them. Let's go up, SA2. Flash step back, SA1. Going quite well. Maybe that could have been a tad bit faster. EX takes down that boss. We'll then Soul Bomb into the 2. And then when we get a fast score, it really comes down to how fast we actually kill the final boss. It can be a tad bit slower on the 5th boss because they are a power character, but I think that was actually 53 seconds, which is what we are going for. If Shint we can lock in and actually start using his attacks too, when we're attacking, it's even better. So we really are fighting for milliseconds here. Whether you get a high 53 or a low 53. That was a low 53, so it's not a new personal best, but it is what we wanted to get in the video. So I think that goes to show how good GREMMY actually is. Nice to know that Giselle can actually boost him, though. And I think that's probably us done with a 5-5 GREMMY right now. We're probably going to lower the Transcendence just to see what a 1-5 GREMMY is looking like. But keep in mind, my account is still max Transcended. My Soul Bomb will be doing more damage. Compared to a base 1-5 GREMMY, I can't remove Soul Bomb damage. I can remove the Transcendence slots, so it might not be a complete representation of what a 1-5 GREMMY looks like, but we will try it nonetheless. But you can see here, 53 seconds, overall pretty good, right? And it's quite easy to do that once you do figure out the pattern. The biggest struggle with a team like this really is just wave 2. But once you know where to stand and you know how to aim your strong attack too, more often than not, it does go your way. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and remove his Transcendence slots. We'll keep the stamina and defense since that doesn't matter. And in a way, your GREMMY technically can be better in terms of strong attack damage because you can give him level 12 SP. Right now, we're just keeping the 500 SP from the 6th slot. So let's see how it does go when we are 1 out of 5, but only level 10 SP. So again, we're going to use the SA1. Flash step into the 3. We do still 2-shot, lovely. SA2 into the 1. Almost kills there. Still pretty fast, to be fair. Into Shinji, we'll SA3, or sorry, EX into the 1. Now, this is where it gets a bit different. Because, again, my Soul Bomb's still going to... Not one-shot, but close enough. That's still pretty good. Then we're SA3. And then SA1. And I guess it's the 3rd wave where it gets somewhat slower compared to a max Transcended. For the most part, the first 4 waves were actually very consistent. So if you do want to improve on your score, you might need to get lucky with Shinsui attacking the enemy at the same time to kill them as fast as possible. At least right now when the final boss is power. In the future, if it's a different attribute, you likely will be able to easily 2-shot with just one character with GREMMY alone. But we might as well continue on and see what the extra stage are looking like. We have plenty of time to spare though. Let's make sure we use the SA2 straight away. and get that SP boost. Again, fortunately for us, sometimes Giselle does get inflicted with freeze. That does actually quite a good favor. So SA2. Now we have lost the SP boost, but the boss is still inflicted with a stat element, so let's instantly use the SA1 once we see that wear off. Again, this is an example where Giselle can ruin the run a tad bit, but we have plenty of time. I think maybe this team might be a bit awkward at 1-5 when the extra level 5 does come out, but we'll see. I mean, later on, you might get this character 2-5. Let 1000 focus as the second slot does go a long way. And to be fair, what you'll see here, right? By the time we kill this final boss, extra level 4, we have 10 seconds to spare, and we also just get our EX attack. So maybe in the future, this team at 1 out of 5, with extra level 5, with the final boss being power, still might be able to beat it, because you're going to lower the enemy stats, you know, debuff them with the EX when the 5th boss spawns in, and then you get the extra stats for all your characters. So I think at 1 out of 5, even in the future, if the final boss is still power, it still might be possible to beat all 5 extra levels, just because of the EX alone. But you know, if that situation does come around and you still can't beat it with this team, it's at that point probably best for you to take off Giselle and opt in to use an additional normal attack damage character, right? Because that's the main idea when it comes to building your team in Guild Quest. For a lot of us that tried to go for high Guild Quest scores, so for example, I got 53 seconds, right? I know no matter what, I'm going to beat all 4 extra levels. So my focus is on the first 5 waves of Guild Quests, because how fast I clear that determines how good of a score I actually get. In this case, I got 53. If your goal is just to beat it, well, at that point, you can opt in to take off Giselle and put in an additional character that can deal damage. So, you know, you can maybe bring, unironically, Ichigo, the 8th anniversary version. You can bring Rangiku if you have her. You can also additionally opt in to use Toshiro as well, because that is something that you can do. That is the 2 new characters for this Guild Quest phase. Toshiro right now is the 2nd most used character, and you know he's going to be able to clear Guild Quest relatively fine. He has the advantage this time around since he does have an attribute advantage. But GREMMY, after all, is GREMMY, and most people are fine with just using him instead of Toshiro. Remember too, if your goal is just to try and clear all 4 extra levels, not caring about your clear time for the first 5 waves, as always, you can save the Soul Bomb for the extra levels to help you out. You don't need to use the Soul Bomb in the first 5 waves. If for some reason you don't have GREMMY though, there are quite a decent amount of options here. More so Toshiro, in all honesty, is like the newest and best option. But honestly, there's also 8th anniversary Ichigo, which do I even want to use him? Shall we try it? I think we should try an 8th anniversary Ichigo team. So let's try this team. I have no idea how good this team is going to be, but you know, if it can get into extra level 2 at the very least, that's not too bad. So the idea with this team is more so to use a power team. Now, in a way, you could replace this character with the new Urudu. She is also a power booster. But Ichigo right now, we're going to build him very similar to GREMMY, just using power and story accessories instead. Lynx right now powers access some really good sword traits. This might not be the best representation of how an 8th anniversary Ichigo can perform, because you might not be able to fully replicate it. I will admit we are using quite the maxed out account here. Like, all these links are basically max transcended, and also Ichigo is max transcended, but he has been out for almost 2 years. And he's been in quite a few selected tickets, because I think you can also pick him in the Brave Battle ticket too. Now, I believe I've given him long stride, so I should probably change that, but I'm being quite lazy now, so we're going to keep it as is. But likely with this character, give him full stun and damage to drain. Shunti again is staying the exact same. The problem with Shunti right now is that we have no team booster that can reliably stack the team boost. You might want to give this character full stun and recharge, but we're just going to go with this, see how it goes. And Mashiro's only here for the Mugetu soul trait, while also, if we scroll down, giving us 40% more damage for power Soripers. Now, Ichigo's a weird one because he was the first character with Frenzy Free and also Poise Break, but he's such a weird character because he doesn't do like crazy damage. But he will, at the very least, be quite consistent in terms of just grouping everyone together, you know? Keeping us safe for the most part. If Mashiro dies, it's fine. So we'll let Shunsui deal the damage. Let's SA 3 here. Then a 1. Might as well use the 2. We actually did quite good there. I would probably want to use my Soul Bomb here. Not like it matters. To be fair, Soul Bomb isn't hitting too hard. It's quite all over the place right now. We're taking damage, but it's fine. We can get back up to full stamina once we flick another Stars on it. Definitely super slow on this boss. This is probably around the time we do actually lose a bit of extra stats from the boost effects. Okay, going into the 5th boss. SA 3, into the 2. Then use our 1. Not as good as I thought it would be, to be fair. But we'll see. We have 10 seconds left. Unfortunately, though, we might need to give Mishiro last-ditch survival, because right now we aren't getting the 10 extra seconds because our characters died. But at least we just locked the enemy in place. Just keep using your attacks whenever an attack is available, you know? Okay, so we'll retry that. I think we can get a tad bit further. Again, the goal right now is just to get into extra level 2. Remember, when it comes to extra levels, your no attack damage characters are significantly more important in my opinion, because they're the ones that deal with consistent damage output. SP characters, especially when you are using 8th anniversary Ichigo, who doesn't naturally have the highest damage output even for his time. You know, we're on a cooldown. We have to wait for our strong attacks to come back. These characters, though, don't. They just dish out non-stop damage. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and give Mashiro some last-ditch survival soul traits, and also don't forget to put on Mugetsu. So there we go. Build like this should keep her alive for the most part to give us the 10 extra seconds when going into the extra levels. All right, here we go. SA free into the 1. We did get the weakening there. Lovely. Let's SA2. We just want to make sure we have a vortex ready every time a new wave comes in, you know? So right now we can do the same. SA2. We should be able to clear his phase relatively fast. Lovely. Let's SA2 again into the 3. I guess I should sub him. You might want to do weaken defense on Ichigo and Odyssey. That might be better. The boss here does actually kind of hurt a tad bit with having 3 power units, you know? We slowed down quite heavy on this stage. SA3. With a 1. Hopefully Aizen is locked onto us. Kind of is. We took some damage. Not the best run. However, 18 seconds. We do get 10 seconds of extra time now. Going into the extra wave. So we'll see how it goes. SA3. It should be back up to full stamina. Hopefully he is. Let's push back with the 1. I think he is at full stamina. Let's 2. Mauzi's off 3. Hopefully the vortex goes down. Kind of does. Yeah, so Ichigo's not the best. If you had Shunsui like more duped out, it might be bad. But you know, we might get into extra level 3. Almost. So you might want to reset a tad bit. Maybe you can do it. What we can try, actually, instead of using a character like Mashiro, because maybe the full stamina is actually holding us back. Maybe the boost on Shunsui isn't too reliable since we are going full stamina links, right? Let's take off Mashiro. And what you can do, and you can do this in a lot of Guild Quest phases, is use this character right here. Okira is a really good support character for the barrier, the boost, and most importantly, not like it matters to be fair, because we also have weakening. But this character does have weakening plus, so he actually can sometimes inflict weakening. It will last longer, and that can help us out. He doesn't have an increased Stasm chance, but we'll take it as is, you know? And then for this character, we were going to build him, it's just go like a standard Sparta builds. Like this, for example. Not the best build, but it's whatever. He's just here to support us. Maybe this is better. Let's find out. At the very least, though, we will have the constant recharge and full stamina, which will keep Shunsui protected, and also at all times have that extra staff. But you know, if Okira does inflict weakening, it will help out quite a bit. Now, if you want to, you might want to give this character Ichigo the Masaki link for extra SP, spiritual pressure boost, but we're just going to go with this. Really good on 3rd wave, but that's when we have attribute advantage. Okira also worth noting, like he doesn't have attribute, he doesn't have poise break, but he does have a tracking vortex that actually does group everyone together. Not the boss, but mostly everyone. Let's stop him here, because I kind of should have used it earlier. Yeah, this is way better. Look at that. 24 seconds to spare. We could have probably had like an extra 10 seconds there compared to our last run. So this is looking better. Again, Okira right now, one of the best supports in the entire game for Guild Quest, especially if you are always lacking a 3rd good optional character. So going into the 2nd phase already. Honestly, if Okira had poise break, that would have been so broken. I can kind of now see why Killer didn't give it. Because look at this. Look at the difference this is making. SA2. That's a massive difference. We almost got into the 3rd boss. I want to say that almost counts. We almost got into the 4th boss just by changing one character. So if there's one thing to take away from that team, Okira is that guy. We've showcased him already in Guild Quest as a side for other Guild Quest phases, but honestly, he continuously impresses me. So if you are in this very situation, even if you have GREMMY and you're struggling to use a 3rd character, but you have Shunsui, no Giselle, throw in Okira. Honestly, it makes a massive difference. So with that in mind, we're going to keep these two characters again, Shunsui and also Okira. Now let's try a different character. And the character we're going to use is a character that is supposedly returning soon. That's not a leak, by the way. But we do have a Burn the Witch banner coming back, based, I believe, on the Epic Raid bonuses. So I think it doesn't confirm a new Burn the Witch banner, but it does confirm a Burn the Witch rerun for the most part, which usually does happen around June, July time anyway. Now, unfortunately for the Katakura Alpha, do I have one at 5-star plus? I do not. So if you are using Nini in Guild Quest, we're going to use it at 2 out of 5, level 10 SP and focus. You might want to give her the 5-star plus Katakura Alpha. We're just going to go with 5-star. I don't want to evolve an accessory just for one run, but we will give her the Holo Killer. So I'm going to go with this instead of using the strong attack damage item. And then for Nini's links, we're going to sort by Scorch Pressure, go to Minds, and then use the full stamina links like that. And then we'll also throw in Chad. There we go. Pretty good links overall. Her bonus abilities should be full stam and SP probably. So let's see how Nini does perform. She's actually still pretty decent. She was a decent lead for this Guild Quest phase once she activates the gauge effect. So to be fair, we might be heavily slowed down once we get into the extra stages. Like right now might be fine. Oh, we're immune to freeze. That's not good. This is going horrible. But the way Nini does work is the faster you clear it, the better. She is essentially. Let's make sure we don't take any damage. Use the normal attacks. Yeah, I don't miss this character, I'll be honest. We do some good damage, but I don't like the whole gauge effect that we had a while ago, where characters can't get the recharge. Oh, that sucks. We might have to restart, but Oak's coming through with the support. And then she also doesn't get the recharge when we activate the gauge. So this is terrible. Nini used to be one of the best leads. But again, she's one of those characters that you have to like... You have to be really good about to get like the extra support. That was terrible. Nini ain't it. Nini ain't it. That was like a bad run though. Let's try again. So like I said, Nini's one of those characters where she only has the gauge effect for such a short amount of time, where you need to really make the most of it. And unfortunately, you don't get the recharge to really back that up. Like, we should have strong attack ready right now, like most other gauge characters. But we were such in a weird phase when this character came out. But it's going decent. We got the gauge effect for at least 3 waves. And the gauge is almost back. Again, we kind of have to use the normal attack here. Okay, decent. Again, with Nini, you have to be careful in the middle. When am I saving my soul bomb? I have no idea. See, I can't even like hit the SA in time because of the freeze, you know. I don't want to get frozen. Let's SA 3, then 2, then 1. So that was a bit better. It was a decent score. But now we come to the biggest problem with Nini. And all gauge characters, we have no vortex. Also, we have no attack. Oh, no, we will get frozen. The barrier, the weakening. I already took damage. No, the run's over. I don't think I want to do another Nini run. If you are using her, probably give her freeze resistance. That's probably why I had freeze resistance on. I didn't know I had it on, or why I had it on, but this is why. And it takes so long to build up the gauge effects. So Nini's kind of just like a bit mid right now. But hey, we killed 1 extra level, right? Do we? Do we even do that? Okay. Shout out to Shuds, but he was basically carrying that. So surprisingly, 8th and Ichigo is a bit more consistent. That's just for the vortex. So I am not using this character anymore. I'm done with Nini. But like I said, she's probably coming back this week, this next week, maybe week after. I don't think her being a bonus confirms a new Burn the Witch banner, but yeah, Burn the Witch units at the very least are coming back. Either way though, I think that's the video for today, going over some of the teams that I was using for the ranged solo guild quests. Would love to try out Toshiro. I did try him on stream at 5 out of 5. He was a good character. To no one's surprise though, if you have Toshiro, he is good. You can use him alongside GREMMY. Both of them work together because Toshiro has Freeze Plus. In all honesty, GREMMY plus Toshiro plus Rangiku makes for a decent team. But right now, the best consistent team that most people can use is GREMMY with Shunsui and also Giselle. If you don't have Giselle though, probably just put on Okira and you're perfectly fine. But again, don't sleep. He's not here in the top 5, but do not sleep on this character. One of the best supports for Guild Quest right now. Made a big difference, at least in our 8th anniversary Ichigo team, which almost made it into the 4th extra stage. Let me know what team you guys were using in the comments below though, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.